Do we believe in Lady Luck? Okay. What do you say Mazel Tov for? A blessing on your cup. Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. Right? What do you mean luck? We don't believe in luck. Or do we? So if you take a look at side number 1, this is from last week's Parsha. On side number 1. Oh, 2 weeks ago. Okay. At least somebody's listening. Okay. Side number 1, the Parsha Chana Pasuk Yutet. God tells us, Upen tisa anecha shemaima. The English word perhaps comes from the Hebrew pen. Upen tisa anecha shemaima. Perhaps you will lift your eyes heavenwards. V'rita et hashemesh es yareach v'es kachavim. And you will see what? The star, the sun, moon, and the stars. Kol tzava shemayim, the entire host of heaven. V'nidachta. And you will be misled. You would think that the heavenly powers have powers. Vishtachavisa you will bow down to them, v'avadatam, and you will what? Worship them. Ashacholak Hashem elakecha otam, but God apportioned them. God apportioned the heavenly host l'chol amim tachat kol hashemayim. The rest of the nations are underneath the zodiacs or the mazolot or the planets. But you Jews are different. You're above the heavenly host. Side number 1, look at the Evan Ezra, please. You see there's a check there, the Evan Ezra. You want one? No. The back is English, so we're going to do English. The back is English. We're not there yet. Side number 1, Evan Ezra says, Asher Cholak. You see that? Evan Ezra, Yehuda. Asher Cholak, God apportioned. Dovre Menusahu. What does that mean, Dovre Menusahu? What does that mean, Rivka? Tried and true. Ki yesh l'chol amim, ki yesh l'chol am va'am, kochav yedua mazel. Every member of the United Nations, of the EU, has their kochav. What does kochav mean? Zodiac, star, umazal, constellation. V'chein yesh mazal. And so too, there is a mazal, a heavenly constellation, l'chol ir ve'ir. Each city has its own heavenly constellation. An angel that's in charge. V'Hashem, sam li Yisrael mala gadola, but God gave us a mala gadola. How do you say that in English? Mala, step up, a step up. Lios Hashem yoatzam. We have direct relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Unlike the rest of the world, who God governs through middlemen, Jews don't like to pay a broker. We go direct. Beryl, it's unbelievable here. We have a direct relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'lo kochav lahem. We don't need an intermediary, Mr. Star Trek, Zodiac, Mazolot. V'hina Yisrael nachlas Hashem. We are different. We are God's direct, lovey-dovey heritage. Unlike the rest of the nations who are tachat kol hashamayim, who are what? Underneath the heavenly host. Now what does that mean? What does God need a heavenly host for? Huh? Golda, why? God, a human king needs assistance. God doesn't need any assistance. What's it all about? So you turn over to side number 2. This is in English. Side number 2. Here the Gemara speaks about, on the left side, it says, Mudashmuel Nami, Ein Mazel Yisrael. You see that? On the left side, in yellow, highlighted in yellow, the Gemara is going to prove many stories that we are not under the mazolot. We are different than what? Than all the other nations who are under the mazolot. So the Shmuel Nami ain't Mazel Yisrael. On the left side, the Gemara brings a story from Shmuel that we are not under the celestial signs, constellations. Shmuel and Avlet, who was Avlet? He was a Goyish astrologer, like a male Jean Dixon. Remember her, Jean Dixon? Yeah. They were once sitting together, Shmuel and this male astrologer sitting together, non-Jew, and someone were going to swamp to cut reeds. There were workers in the fields and they were watching then. Avlet said to Shmuel, I checked my crystal ball this morning, and what happened, Abraham? This guy will go out to the field, but he will what? Not come back. Because a snake will bite him and he will die. I checked my crystal ball, and this Yankel Shmerel is going to be bitten by a snake today. Watch it, watch me. Watch it. This is what this astrologer said to the great sage Shmuel, okay? So Shmuel said to Avled, if this worker is a Jew, forget about it. I don't care what the signs say. He will go and come back. So while Shmuel and Avled were sitting there, the man went and came back. So Avled stood up, this astrologer stood up and threw off the man's backpack. He found amid the reeds a snake that had been cut in 2 pieces. So he was destined to die that day. It was in the crystal ball. But what happened? Inadvertently, he had cut the snake in half with the reed, not even knowing what he did. So Shmuel said to the man, Ma vadit. You have it, Shirley. What have you done that might have made you worthy of escaping death? You didn't even know that the snake was going to bite you, cut him in half. So what did this man say? They were poor workers. Poor workers they were. Every day we would all pool our bread together in one basket and eat it. See footnote 9, every member of the group throws his bread in a communal basket, and they collect it together. Yeah, they had a communal meal because they were so poor. Today, said this guy, I realized that there was one of us who didn't throw anything into the communal pot. He had nothing to bring, no lunch. He was going to be embarrassed when it came his turn to eat. So what did I do? So I told the other workers, I'm going to get up and collect the bread today. When I reached that person who didn't bring his lunch, who couldn't afford it, I pretended to take something from him, but actually I put my tuna fish sandwich in, and I made believe that it came from him, that he should not be embarrassed because he has nothing. Omelei, Shmuel said to this Jewish man, mitzvah avadit, you have done a very good mitzvah, an act of chesed. And Shmuel said, Utzedakah tachel mimaves. There's a pasuk in Mishlei 10. This person, take, how do you say take in English? Indeed was supposed to die that day because it was in the cards. But he did an act of chesed, and therefore there's a pasuk in Mishlei 10, Utzedakah tachel mimaves. Doing an act of chesed saves somebody from what? From death. Below Mimisa Mishun, on top of the page, on side number 2, but not just from an unusual death, but even from what? From death itself. So you see that even though this person's mazel was supposed to what? That he was supposed to die today, but since he did an act of chesed, he rose above his what? His fate, his mazel. They translate mazel what? Celestial signs. Another story, on top of the page on side number 2, Midu Rabbi Kiva Ein Mazel Yisrael. Side number 2, on top of the page on the right side, another story to prove that what? That the Jewish people are above the what? The celestial signs. And we'll explain what that means, right? Rabbi Kiva had a daughter that the Gene Dixon told him, remember Gene Dixon? The day that your daughter gets married, she's going to be bitten by a snake and will die. Yiddish Ruvain, Gene Dixon, remember her? Yes. Now, there's a problem here because the Rambam says you're not allowed to go to an astrologer to ask for the future, even though what they say is right. Rabbi Kiva didn't know this Rambam, so you're not allowed to go there, Shoshana. But if they come to you, you can listen. Yiddish Reb Nochem. He's not allowed to go there. You can't go to a crystal ball lady. Not allowed to do that. Right? It's against the Torah. But if they come to you unsolicited, Yechiel, you're permitted to what? Listen. Yeah. And Rabbi Kiva listened, he was worried. Because, why was he worried? If the Jewish people are above the Mazalot, why was he worried? So stay tuned. He was worried over the matter. If the Jewish people are above Mazalot, why was he worried? But he was worried. On the day of a wedding, what happened? You know, they wear the wedding crown, the girls, right? So she had an itch. So she took it off, and she had a pin that stuck it in, and by mistake, what did she do? The day of a wedding, she took her brooch and stuck it in the wall, sitting on her collar chair behind her. It happened when she did so, the needle lodged in the eye of the snake, killing it. Whoa. And she didn't even realize that what? that the snake was about to bite her. Inadvertently, she killed him by sticking the needle there. She had an itch. She didn't use Head and Shoulders that morning. She didn't, so she had an itch. So she took off her sheitel. She'll hold with a pin, and she stuck it behind, and inadvertently, Yechiel, she killed the snake.
Wow.
What a miracle. In the morning, when she took the brooch out of the wall, the dead snake followed, stuck fast. She didn't realize. Her brooch, whatever. Rabbi Kiva said to her, what have you done today? You had such a great miracle happen to you. What did you do? She said to him, in the afternoon, what? There's an echo here?
Don't make it any colder.
No, not colder.
No more cold.
Can't hear that.
There's an echo here, isn't there?
Yeah, keep talking.
So in the afternoon, what did she say? What happened?
Wow.
Oh, thank you. Oh,
That was terrible.
I thought it was tinnitus. In the afternoon, imagine Rabbi Kiva married off his daughter in the great synagogue. Can you imagine all the great rabbis were there? Can you imagine a smorgasbord, a fancy Rabbi Kiva? She said, in the afternoon, during the wedding, a schnorrer came and stood by the doorway and asked for a meal. Everybody was busy at the smorgasbord, and people ignored him. He hadn't eaten all day. And no one was listening to him. I got up and took my own portion, the Kala said, and I gave him my own portion. Yeah, everybody was busy at the smorgasbord. They ignored this poor person. So the Kala herself, Rabbi Kiva's daughter, what did she do? Sonia. She gave her prime rib main portion, and she gave it to the poor person. Yeah. Amalei, Rabbi Kiva said to her, mitzvah, Vadi, you have done a mitzvah, and therefore tzedakah tatzal mimaves, and therefore what? Charity saves from death, and from death itself, and therefore even though you were destined to die on that day, but since you did a mitzvah, you rose above your mazel.
Wow.
And one more story, and then we'll explain. Rabbi Nachman bar Yitzchak, the last on side number 2 on the right side, Rabbi Nachman bar Yitzchak, Ein Mazel Yisrael, another story from this great sage that the celestial signs do not hold sway over Israel. The astrologers once told Rabbi Nachman Yitzchak's mother, Mrs. Jean Dixon came to Rabbi Nachman Yitzchak's mother, and she couldn't go there. She said, your little Nachman will grow up to be Meir Lansky. You see your little Nachman? He'll grow up to be Bugsy Siegel. Meir Lansky. Never heard of Meir Lansky? Bugsy Siegel. Your son will grow up. I looked in my crystal ball and I see that your little Nachman with the payas will grow up to be what? Louis Lepke. Remember him? Louis Lepke? No, remember him? But he wouldn't kill nobody on Shabbos. Not a joke. He would not kill anybody on Shabbos. Only after Havdalah. He made Havdalah, then he went out on the hit. Not on Shabbos, right? So anyway, the bullets for Muktzah, that's right. So anyway, so what did she do? She never allowed him to uncover his head. She told him, cover your head so the fear of heaven will be on you. This is the earliest source that we should wear a yarmikah. Now why is this called Yechiel yarmikah? You ever wonder? Yoreh miyut K. It's a contraction. Yoreh miyut K. Rav Nachman's mother taught us that when you wear a kippah, it's a yarmikah. It reminds you that there's someone above you. We answer to a higher authority. Yoreh mikah. So it became yarmikah. So what do we see over here? What? What do we see over here? If we're not under mazalot, then why did she have to do a great act of chesed to beat the mazalot? And this Gemara seems to contradict another Gemara. The Gemara in Moed Katan, page 28, says that how long a person's going to live, how many children he's going to have, and how much pernasa he'll have is not totally in merit, but it's totally in what? In mazel. So it seems to be, Rabbi Abraham, a direct contradiction between this Gemara. And this Gemara says, Ein Mazel Yisrael. Right? So the Vilna Gaon explains that the word mazel does not mean luck. Chava. The word mazel means nozel. Nozel, go with the flow. Go with the flow. Nozel means a flow. Every person is born with a spiritual flow. Call it destiny, call it karma. Every person, including a Jewish person, is born with a certain spiritual flow or destiny. And many people are born, Nebuch, with a schwere pekel. How do you say that in English? Heavy package. So the Vilna Gaon says that the mazel of a person is the tafkid of the neshama migilgal hakodem. If you see righteous people that have what? Negative mazel, a lot of tzorot, lo yaleinu. It's not a luck. It's not luck. Person's life, children, mezonot, is totally in his mazel, his spiritual flow, his destiny that he has from an unfinished business or previous lifetime. Okay? So that's a mazel. But we're going to say on Rosh Hashanah, utshuva, utfila, utzedakah, mavirin roya gzeira. Tshuva, tfila, tzedakah cancels the roa hagzera. What does roa hagzera mean? It means bad mazel. Shoshana, that's what it means. Tshuva, even a person is born with bad mazel because he has unfinished business from previous Gilgal. It's not luck, it's his pekel, says the Vilna Gaon, Gilgal HaKodem, but through tshuva, utfila tzedakah, tshuva, prayer, and charity, mavirin cancels roya hagzeira. The Vilna Gaon says, what's a bad decree? Bad mazel. So we can rise above our bad mazel. We don't have to be stuck in the mazel that you're born with. Now, when we say to a person, Mazel Tov, what are we saying to him on a happy occasion? Good flow. What do you mean, Mazel Tov, good flow? Right? Happy occasion, a chasana, a bris, you buy a new house, you say, Mazel Tov, have a good flow. You ever wonder what does it mean? Say it in English next time. Say, have a good flow. That's what you're actually saying, right? Now, what are you actually saying?
You have trouble going to the bathroom?
Well, we're saying to the person we're giving in a happy event. In the happy event, you can see the tov in the mazel. A lot of times we can't see the tov. Whatever God does is good, but a lot of times we can't see it. So during a happy event, we see the tov. We see that this flow is what? Good. You see it. Birth of a child, a chasana, right? Moving to a new home, you finish a tractate. You see the tov. It's plain. So therefore, we bless the person that you should find the tov in everything in life, even when it's not apparent. Just like now you see the tov, a happy event, you see the tov. You see the flow is good. So we bless you that in all events in life, even when the tov is not apparent, try to find the tov. Because whatever God does is what? Is tov. But a lot of times we just can't see it. It's disguised. It's hidden in a package of negativity. So when we see the tov clearly, Mazel Tov, so too all events in your life, find the good flow even when it's not apparent. Right? Yeah. Try to find it. So what are we saying over here? We're saying that every person is born with mazel, which does not mean luck, which means their pekel, their destiny, their karma that they have to work with. But a Jewish person can rise above his mazel. Not only can, he's expected to. He's expected to rise above his mazel and not to what? To be stuck. Because through tshuva, tefillah, tzedakah, that's what we keep saying Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur over and over again, through tshuva. What does tshuva mean? Repentance, prayer, and charity. We cancel roya gzeira, says Vilna Gaon, that's mazel ra. And a Jew can do that. A non-Jew is not capable of doing that. So what is it all about? What are the stars? Why does God need the whole system for? Right? Starry night. What are the stars? The Koichavim. God uses the stars as his angels to run the world. There are trillions of stars. Each one, says the Rambam and the Abarbanel, is actually a body of an angel. So when you're looking at starry night, what are you looking at? Angels. Bodies of angels. Did you know that? Just like our neshama needs a vehicle to accomplish its mission, what's our soul's vehicle called? The body. So malachim also have a tafkid. They have a tafkid too. So how do they accomplish their tafkid in the physical world? What's their body called? Starry night. You hear this? So when you're looking at a starry night, you're actually looking at what? At bodies of malachim. So the mazal is the spiritual flow that God showers on the world through these heavenly agents, Yechiel, or robots, that we call mazalot, or malachim, or what? Or stars. So each star, says Rambam and the Barbanel, is the body of a malach. It's the body of a malach. So we cannot accomplish, we have free will to do the mission or not. The malachim, they are robots. And the Rambam says if you see the stars spinning and they don't crash into each other, that's and the Rambam says stars have intelligence. What do you mean stars have intelligence? That's the malach that animates the star. Stars have intelligence. Doesn't mean that the star itself, it means the malach that what? That lives in that star, that animates that star, that has a super intelligence. Because just like we in the physical world, our neshama needs a physical vehicle to accomplish its mission, which is the body. So malachim, even though they're spiritual beings, just like our souls are, they also need a physical vehicle to accomplish their mission, whatever their mission is. And that's called what? That's called stars. Okay? That's called stars. Now the question is, God's providence works through angels, but the angels work through stars. The stars are the souls, the angels are the souls of the stars. Says the Barbanel in Levorim 18, angels are souls of the stars. So now the question is, why did God set up the system like that? Why are stars the necessary link between God and man? Why does the chain include God, angel, star, and finally what? Man. Why does God need it all? A human king needs what? Assistance, right? God doesn't need any assistance. So why did he create these trillions of stars which are actually what? Angels. And God's shefa, how do you say that in English? Bounty is showered, filtered through them. Right? Why do you need the middle intermediary for? Yechiel, ever wonder about that?
Who needs the filter?
Who needs the filters? Right? Eliminate the broker. What do you need it for? So the Rambam gives two amazing answers. One answer is God wants to impress us. In last week's Haftorah, Yeshayahu chapter 40, John, God says, Su'u marom enechem. Lift your eyes heavenwards. Starry, starry night. Uru mi bara ele. And wonder and wow, who created all of this? The heavenly host. So Isaiah 40, God wants to impress us. Raise your eyes heavenwards, God says, and see who created all of that. The Milky Way. Still love the Milky Way. Ever eat the Milky Way? Mm-hmm. Delicious, right? Right? The Snickers better. So says Rambam, based on this pasuk, I'll put it in my language, Yechiel. You ever go to Buckingham Palace? I did. There's an honor guard there. Why does the Queen have an honor guard? Nobody's going to kidnap her. Who wants her? It gives her esteem. It adds awe and dignity to the Queen when she's surrounded by such a huge honor guard. Says the Rambam, God works like a human king to impress us, to increase our awe and respect for him. So God's huge honor guard What are they? The trillions of stars. It's for our sake God wants to impress me. It gives dignity to the king, right? To increase our Yirat Shamayim, our respect for Hashem. You ever wonder why it's called Yirat Shamayim? Yechiel, why don't you say Yirat Hashem? Why does the Talmud speak about Yirat Shamayim? Do we fear heaven? We fear God. So why not tell it like it is? Have I never wondered about that? Why does the Talmud say Kana Yirat Shamayim? We fear heaven? We fear God. So why say Yirat Shamayim? You ever wonder about that? We can't see God. God is too abstract. But when we look at the host of heaven, Reb Nachum, it causes us to fear the one who created that. We're human beings and we need tangible symbols to focus. So Yirat Shamayim, we don't fear heaven. We fear the one who created starry, starry night. So this is the same idea, right? To increase our awe and respect for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so God puts on this beautiful show every night. It's free. Starry, starry night.
Why don't we make a bracha?
Oh, good question. Why do we make a bracha? On a shooting star you make a bracha. Yeah. On a shooting star you make a bracha, Osamasa Bereshit, on a shooting star. But anyway, so this is the idea, Yirat Shamayim, we fear by being awed and wowed by the host of heaven. It gives us fear of the one who created all that, but we can't see him. We can only relate to his handiwork. Versteh? That's one explanation. Another explanation, says Rambam, why God created the entire system of stars and malachim and zodiacs, says Rambam, to test us. The ancients were not foolish, Yechiel. The ancients were very intelligent. Why did they worship the stars? How does the Talmud call Avodah Zarah? Avodat Kachavim. Sarah, what does that mean? Avodat Kachavim. Why does the Talmud call idolatry Avodat Kachavim?
They worship the stars.
What? Because that was it. They worship the stars. Idol worship in Talmudic language and Rambam is called Avodat Kachavim. The ancients were not stupid, Lillian. They were not stupid. They know that God's Shefa, God's energy and bounty passes through what? These stars and Malachim. So they began to worship the robots. That's classic idolatry. And I'll give you my example. You hire a carpenter, Chava, to build you a nice cabinet. Right? The carpenter builds you a nice cabinet. When it's finished, you walk over to the hammer. Oh, thank you, hammer. You did such a wonderful job. Right? Golda. Shouldn't he thank the hammer?
No.
If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning. Leah, I'll thank the hammer. Oh, but Elisheva, I like my analogy very much. Instead of thanking the carpenter, they began to worship the hammer. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a tool kit. And one of the tools he uses to run the world is called what? Malachim, zodiac, stars. It's only a hammer. You're going to thank the hammer? The hammer did build the hammer did build you the cabinet. But the hammer by itself is just a tool. It can't do anything unless the Creator wielded it. So that was the mistake of the ancients, says Rambam. They began to worship the hammer instead of what? The carpenter. If I was a carpenter and you hear what's going on over here? That's classic idolatry, right? To think that the hammer has any independent power on its own. To think that a malach has independent power to act on his own is classic idolatry. That's Christianity. They believe that Satan is an independent being. That's classic idolatry, right? We know that Satan and all the other malachim or zodiacs are only tools that God uses. On their own, they are nothing. They're like robots, computers, right? That have no power anything on their own. But the ancient world made that terrible mistake, right? Because they know that, well, the hammer built them, right?
Do we believe in Satan?
What do we believe? Satan's a malach. Hello, Satan is a malach, a robot. God created him to test us. Like he created, every malach has a function. The trillions of stars, the Medrash Rabbah and the Zohar say that every blade of grass has what? Has what? A malach on it taking care of it.
And they got a good union. Each one does one job.
That's right. You can't, no malach can do two, they have a very strong union, right? So, anyway, what are we saying over here? The pasuk in Isaiah, as we said before, and the pasuk in Tehillim, Mona mispar lekachavim. God counts all the stars. Lukulam shemos yikra. Pasuk in Tehillim, each one he calls a name. What does a name mean? Each one has a tafkid. Just like every human being has a tafkid, and my tafkid is not yours, just like my fingerprints are not yours, right? So every malach, every star has its own tafkid. Task, right? So what are we saying over here? Right? So, Kadosh Baruch Hu has a grand plan for creation, right? And what's God's plan for creation? To do good. Since God is good, he had to create the entire universe in order to express goodness. Because a being that's good, how could he show that he's good? By bestowing goodness. And that can only be done if there's a creation, right? So therefore, God created man to emulate him. To do good is to be godlike. And therefore, the first mitzvah in the Torah is to get married and raise a family. Because without a family, without a wife and kids to share, to give, to love, you can't give. And if you can't give, you can't be godlike. And if you can't be godlike, who needs you? God says to Adam, Lo tov v'yosh Adam levado. What does that mean? If man is alone, he can't be good. That's what it really means. If man is alone, he can't be good. If he has no one to share his goodness with, then he can't be good. So therefore, I have to create him what? A better half, right? A better half. So anyway, to sum up, God grants a special destiny to each and every one of us. Okay? Every one of us has a special destiny. How do you say that in English? Mazel, karma, pekel, right? Right? Every one of us has a special destiny. The tools or vehicles that God uses to bestow this destiny on us is called astrology, angels, mazolot, which are actually the souls of the stars. These tools are spiritual robots or spiritual computers programmed by God to interact with what? With his creatures, creation. So therefore, angels are like computers and have absolutely no free will to act. The only being that has free will is God and man. That's what makes us unique. No other being besides God and man have free will. That's why we are, that's the Tzelem Elohim. Right? Malachim have no free will. To believe that a malach acts independently and can act independently is classic idolatry, says Rambam. And therefore, Hilchas Avodas Kachavim in Hebrew, the worship of the stars. So every person, including a Jewish person, is born with what? With their mazel, their karma, their destiny, which is the tikkun for a previous Gilgal, says what? The Vilna Gaon. But a Jewish person can rise above and change his destiny, his mazel, his karma. Roya HaGezeirah. An evil decree, lo yaleini, is negative karma, bad karma. How do we know that? God tells the first Jew, he tells Abraham, Vayetza oisai chutza. In Genesis 15, it says God took Abraham outside. Genesis 15, Yechiel, you can look it up. God took Abraham outside. What do you mean outside? The Torah is a history book, but he took him for a walk. Genesis 15 says God took Abraham outside. What does that mean?
Outside the system.
Oh, who said that?
Cat.
Oh, Elisheva, you're cooking with gas.
Wow.
Tractate Shabbos 156, God took him outside of the system. Because Abraham was not destined to have any children. The crystal ball, the zodiacs, the karma, the mazolot, Abraham was not supposed to have any children. God took him outside and says, you can rise above what?
Your muscle.
Your muzzle. So Gemara makes a strange comment. Abraham was a great astrologist. You know that a non-Jew, keep the 7, go to heaven, Reb Ruvain, a non-Jew can be Gene Dixon. A righteous non-Jew like Wendell Jones can be Gene Dixon, not a problem. We forget Abraham was not Jewish until he was 99. We forget that. Abraham, says the Talmud Shabbos 156, was a bigger astrologer than Gene Dixon. So the Talmud makes a bizarre comment. When God said, you're going to have a child, so Abraham says, excuse me, God, I checked my zodiac sign, and I'm not destined to have a child. But we understand this conversation? The creator of the universe just told you what? You're going to have a child. He says, excuse me, God, I just checked my crystal ball, and I'm not destined to have a child. A non-Jew can consult an astrologer. So So Avram says, you're confusing me, God. The crystal ball is also your system. The robots, the computers are telling me that my mazel is what? Not to have a child. Who built the robots? Who built the system? You did. And now you're telling me I can't have a child. I'm all mixed up, Rivka. God said, Avram said, you're mixing me up. Your system of the robots is telling me one thing, I can't have a child. And you're telling me I can. God, you're mixing me up. So God's answer was, Genesis 15, God took Abraham outside the system, as Elisheva said so beautifully. I'm building a nation from you that you're not stuck under the system. As you go back to side number 1 in your paper, all the Amim, side number 1, Pasuk Yutes, the end of the Pasuk, Yehuda. It's so clear if you look at the Pasuk Yutet, the end of the Pasuk. It's underlined. L'cholo Amim tachas kol hashamayim. All the other nations are what? So you have that underneath the system of heaven, of the stars and the zodiacs and Mazolot. But Genesis 15 says, Abraham, you're going to be the first astronaut before John Glenn. Remember him? I'm taking you outside. Right? Abraham was not destined to have a child, yes. But through prayer, God removed him outside from his mazel destiny and gave him a child, even though he was not supposed to have a child. So what's the message of Abraham? Abraham is every person, every Jewish person, that we too can improve and change our personal destiny by improving and changing our behavior. We can change our mazel by tshuva, surely, tshuva, utfila, tzedakah, mavirin roya hagzeira. Says Vilna Gaon, that's negative mazel. And that power was given to Am Yisrael in Genesis 15 when God took Abraham outside of the system. Wow. Right? So you see from here that Abraham was a great astrologist, which is not a problem for a non-Jew. Keep the 7, go to heaven. So what does that mean? That the astrologers, the real ones, they can read the stars, right? That's a science. They can read the stars. That's God speaking to them through the robots. But the problem is that the ancient world began to worship the hammer, the robots, the computer, instead of what? The one who built the system. And that's classic idolatry. We know that all of the malachim, including Satan, are only what, John? Tools, hammers in God's toolkit. But the Christians, I think, believe that Satan acts independently. I think they believe that, no?
Yeah.
So that's classic idolatry, to believe that, right? So anyway, our mission in life is what? To rise above the mazalot. Is to rise above, right? God says, why do you want, that's the challenge, Shirley. You want to be stuck in the system. Jews don't like to pay brokers. All right?
And this is the only reason somebody actually should become Jewish, because...
So Yehuda Lev is making a very good observation here. Excellent. That even though keep the seven go to heaven, true, but only a Jewish person can rise above his mazel.
Right.
So if a person wants to rise above his destiny, if he has bad karma, then the only way to do that is what? Is to become a Jew. He doesn't have to do it. He doesn't have to do it, right?
Even if he has good karma, he wants to get closer to God.
Okay, that's right. So keep the seven go to heaven, but he, in order to be able to rise above your mazel, right? Mm-hmm. To rise above the system of the robots and the zodiacs, that only what a Jewish person can what? Do. Now, if you go to side number 2, now, Shirley, we have a problem here. Shirley, you with me? Let's go to side number 2 again. The last story with Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, a strange story over here. Shirley said we all have free will, right? And she's right. The whole Jewish religion, says Rambam, stands on the principle of what? Free choice. So we have a problem, Ruvain. Look at side number 2, the last story there. See, it's another incident. Side number 2, back in the Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, on side number 2 on the right corner there, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Ein Mazel Yisrael. See that? Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak? No. Side number 2 on the bottom, right hand corner there. You have it, Yehuda, in the paragraph? In the text. Text. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, not the note, the text. Say yes, maybe. You have it? No? Yes. And so from the story of Nachman bar Yitzchak, we may conclude that the celestial signs hold no sway of Israel. The mother, the astrologers, once told Nachman bar Yitzchak that your son will grow up to be a thief. Why was she nervous? I thought we have free will. Sharona, when do you grow up to be a thief? Where's free will? Why was she nervous? She said, I'll put a yarmulke on his head, now he won't be a ganef. If he's destined to be a ganef, Shirley, where's his free will? Very strange Gemara. And the Rebbetzin was nervous that little Nachman might grow up to be what? Bugsy Siegel. So if he's going to be Bugsy Siegel when he's born, then where's his free will, Nechama? Right. What's it all about?
He could change his destiny. You change your mind.
So what's the answer? We're all born with impulses and urges. Yeah. What's our tafkit? We shall overcome. Every person is born with a unique test. A unique test. Called it a temptation, an urge. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak had a tremendous temptation to be a ganef. That was his tafkid. That was his mazel. To fight with that temptation. Because in a previous Gilgal, he did something. He did something with Geneva, says Vilna Gaon, and therefore God brought him back. Not only him, every person, if you really know yourself, you have a spiritual weakness that you struggle with. Right? If you really know yourself, whether it's women, gambling, internet, smartphone, dumb phone, everyone has their temptation, their urge, impulse that they have to struggle with. That's exactly why we were born. And what's our tafkid? To overcome or not to overcome. We have free will. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak had free will, but his unique challenge and test in life was to struggle with the impulse of what? Of thievery. Other person might be wine, women, or song. Not the kind I sing. I sing only kosher songs, right? But this is it. Every person, just like our fingerprints are unique, our challenges, our impulses, our urges in life are what? Unique. And our tafkid is to overcome them or to give in to them. Rav Nachman had a choice. But to assist him, his mama made sure that what? Moshe. A yarmika. Yore miyut K. You ever wonder why in Yiddish you say a yarmika? You didn't know, right? Good thing you came today. It's a FBI, CIA, NYPD. Yore mika. We answer to a higher authority. So even Popeye wears a yarmulke. Popeye. Popeye. He wears a kippah. Because he says he also answers to higher authority. It reminds us that there's someone above us. Right. So it helps us control our what? Our urges and impulses. Right? Because if you're wearing a kippah and tzitzis, it's difficult to walk into a massage parlor. If you're wearing a kippah on your tzitzis outside, right? They act like spiritual brakes. They overcome it. Oh, we shall overcome. Right? That's what it's all about, right? So therefore, a Jew should wear tzitzis and a kippah and dress, modestly. They're spiritual brakes. And therefore, the laws of yichud are so important. The laws of yichud. There's an epidemic lately of, I don't want to say, even in the Frum community, of terrible acts of immorality. Even the Frum community. Where does it come from? The Chazal was so brilliant. They knew that the laws of Yichud, ein apotropos larayot. You know what that means? Who knows Hebrew? Ein apotropos larayot, right?
Guardian.
Right? Even great people have great urges. So the rabbis knew what they're talking about, Elisheva, when they said the laws of Yichud, not to be alone with the opposite sex. Unless she's your mother, your wife, your daughter, etc. Because then the Yetzer Hara works overtime. Even great people. Right? So therefore, we have the laws of Yichud and we have to keep them straight. And otherwise, it can lead to big, major problems, even in the frum world. Because they disregard the laws of Yichud Nebuch. Chazal knew human nature better than Sigmund Freud.
That's right.
What?
What do you think about this big subject of burkinis today?
Burkinis. Burqa babes. What?
That's bathing suits.
The bathing suits, they call the burqa.
You said it's not Judy.
Oh, I have a better
Every says it's not Judy.
Rabbi Mordechai Zatzal said as follows. Now, Rabbi Mordechai Zatzal, I read this Aryeh on one of his Torah sheets. I hope I saved it. He says that if you see a Jewish woman dressing like a burqa babe, you have to know that she's an immoral woman. I wouldn't repeat this. I read this in one of his Torah sheets. Rabbi Mordechai Zatzal wrote in one of his Torah sheets that that's not Judaism. No. To dress like a burqa babe is not Yahadut. No. Is not Yahadut. And if they dress like that, that means they're covering up immorality.
You don't mean swimming garb. You mean.
I'm making them walk around like Muslim.
And you don't know he's Jewish unless he has tzitzis on.
Rabbi Mordechai said it's not Judaism. How does he know it's not Judaism? Everything is in Rashi, Rashi says, why was Sarah Imenu called Yiska? Yiska means to gaze. So Rashi quotes Chazal that everyone gazed at her beauty. So Rabbi Mordechai said, if she dressed like a burqa babe, how could they gaze at her beauty?
Wow.
Sarah Imenu, she was called Yiska. The English word Jessica. Rashi quotes Chazal because everyone gazed at her beauty. So he says, you see that what? That in Judaism, you don't walk around like a spook. Right? You're supposed to dress like a mensch, not like, and if they dress like that, he said, it covers up immorality. I wouldn't repeat it unless I saw it that he wrote in one of his Torah sheets. The great Amalchayol, the former chief rabbi of Israel. Zecher Tzadik of Rabbi Chalio, right. Yes?
Are you through? I don't want to.
No, yes, go ahead.
No, you mentioned before about Adam Harishon, that Lo Tov Adam Liot Tov.
Right. If he's alone, he can't be good. No one to share with.
We heard a very good word.
Go ahead.
A colleague of yours. Why then have a very difficult time asking for directions?
For directions.
Why? Because when they were born, they were alone. They didn't know how to relate to someone else and have to ask someone else for assistance.
Right.
To this day, it's stuck with them, and therefore
They can't ask for directions.
Well, why is that woman there bar alone too?
Women were born after men.
After man, right?
She already had some.
How come women have a bina yetera? Women have a bina, you know why, Nechama? Because we men were created what? From dirt.
Right.
You ladies were created what? What from dirt? From our rib. So therefore, you're a step up. You're a step up. You're not created from dirt like we were, right? And therefore, women have the ability to see right through. Because where did God create a woman? Rivka, not from the nose or the pinky, right? God could have taken the pinky or the nose. He took an inside. So a woman can see right through. They can see right through. You can't fool a woman. You could fool Abraham with a Yishmael. You can fool Yitzchak with an Esav. Right? But Rivka, she saw right through the charade. You couldn't fool her because she's created the woman from the inside. So therefore she sees the nonsense and therefore she can see right through. We have a shiur at Thursday at 2 o'clock. Current events in the Haftorah. It's going to be a good one. This is coming up Shabbos Rosh Chodesh. I'll show you an amazing current events in the Shabbos Rosh Chodesh Haftorah. That's a cliffhanger. Thursday at 2 o'clock. Thank you.